Hello, it's Jill Fielding here, and this is what's caught my eye in the press this week. Obviously, one big announcement was the divorce of Bill and Melinda Gates, and they are worth substantial amounts of money, over $100 billion, $200 billion, whatever it may be. And firstly, that's a sad thing for a couple that have been together for a long time. But I'm delighted to say it looks like they've sorted out the money issue and dividing the spoils ahead of time. But that isn't the usual case, certainly not in a divorce, where money is used as a weapon, as a stick to beat each other with. And it just goes to show how much of an emotional issue money is, and how we use it as a tool to please people and to destroy people. And that's really unfortunate. So I'm delighted about the Gates' approach to their divorce. And it just goes to show that even if the amount of money is so huge that most of us can't comprehend it, it is still possible to have a decent and a fair and a logical approach to money. And that pleases me enormously, because I hate to see money being used as a weapon and as an emotional weapon in a divorcing situation. So well done to them. In terms of what's going on in the UK, I've read this week about two initiatives which show that organisations are looking at the bigger picture. So, for example, Ikea have announced that they're going to start operating a second-hand version. So you can take stuff back that you bought there, and depending on what condition it is, you'll be given a voucher to spend in Ikea again. And their expectation is that they constantly recycle their stuff so that nothing gets wasted. And the other initiative I read was about Pandora, the jewellery people, who are no longer going to use real diamonds in their jewellery because of the exploitation of miners and the impact on the environment that has. And they're just going to use manufactured diamonds. Now, they're just two examples of how organisations are becoming really aware of the environment. And although it's absolutely fantastic and I'm delighted for them, of course, organisations know that there's a profit issue with that, because nowadays, as human beings, we all want to help the environment, save the planet, etc., etc. So we are deliberately choosing product and service suppliers who have an environmental policy. So, for example, my youngest daughter, who's in her early 20s, will only buy clothes that have been made from sustainable materials and that can be recycled. So as a consumer, as a customer, we now have a choice to only use suppliers who have an environmentally friendly policy. And of course, that impacts their sales and their profitability. So well done, Ikea, well done, Pandora, well done, every organisation that is doing something about recycling and the environmental issues. I understand there's a double reason for that. One, it's the right thing to do. And secondly, it helps the sales. So let's all get on that bandwagon. Let's buy only from suppliers that recycle, use sustainable products, and do something positive for the planet, and do something positive for the companies as well, because it will boost their sales and profits. The next thing that I've read about this week is the debate that is building between whether you work at home or whether you go into the office when all the lockdowns are lifted. And there are certain organisations that are saying that we are no longer ever going to work from the office. There's some organisations that are saying we're going to allow hybrid working, so you do some and some. And then there's some organisations like Goldman Sachs this week, the bankers, who said everybody back in the office in June. Now, this is going to lead to an employment issue, because as a potential employee, we have the option to look around at different job opportunities, and we normally compare those job opportunities based on things like salary, perks, pension, working hours, etc., etc. And of course, the companies can all more or less keep in line on those kind of issues. So if the standard pay is 20,000 a year for a certain role, then all the companies that need that role can offer the same amount of money. but there'll be a huge differential factor in whether you go into the office or not. And that's a very personal issue. You know, I'd be back in the office like a shot if it were me, but that's me. And I know a lot of people would much rather work from home forever. So in choosing future employment opportunities, people are now not only going to have to compare salaries and perks and pensions and so on, but they're also going to have to compare the different styles of working and whether that suits them personally. And that's a differentiation we haven't had in the employment market before. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out and what people actually do. Now, property news. There's been two great pieces of property news in the press this week. First of all, the people who currently live in Hong Kong who have British national overseas passports. Now, they have been offered UK citizenship by the UK government, and already they are starting to come into the UK and create demand in the property market. And apparently 4% of house sales in the last month have been from UK nationals that have come in from Hong Kong. And it's creating an excess demand. And a lot of that is in prime residential in the centre of London, but it's also filtering out to the Greater London area and other places in the country. And this is creating another portion of demand that we've not had before in this country. And as we know, the property prices keep going up and are pressured to go up the whole time because we have an excess of demand over supply. Now, to put that into context, the UK government expect that we are going to get 300,000 of these Hong Kong nationals into the UK in the next few years. Now, 300,000 is a lot, and it's more than the government's annual building target. It's more than we ever brought in under the EU rules when we were part of the EU. So 300,000 new people, new demand, new property requirements is going to hit our property market over the next few years. And I imagine it will contribute to keeping demand high and keeping property prices moving upwards. The other thing I read about this week was about new build properties. Now, if you've ever heard me speak or seen me publicly talking about property, you will know that I hate new builds as a property investment strategy. And it's simply because the second you take the keys, the property immediately devalues. It's just like a new car when you drive it off the forecourt. And estimates are that it takes about 2 years or so to recover the price premium that you pay for buying a new build property. And this week from 20CI, we had some actual stats, and they've worked out that on average, we pay £63,000 more for a new build property than for an equivalent existing home. And that actually varies quite a lot over the country. So in the northeast of England, the price premium is about 62%. Which is an extraordinary amount of money that you pay more just because it's a new build. It gets less as you come down into the southeast, down to about 14%, and 5% in London. And that is the difference you pay for having a new build property. And as I say, it will take you a couple of years to earn that back. Now, if you are a domestic residential purchaser and you just want to live in the home, that's not too big an issue because you're likely to be living in it for more than 2 years, and it's where you're going to put your family and so on. So maybe it doesn't matter quite so much for them, but it matters enormously for property investors because you're investing in an asset where there is no appreciation. There's no appreciation for at least 2 years. Now, nobody would invest in a product that does that. So, okay, for residential purchases if you want to, but it just confirms and affirms that new builds are not a suitable strategy for professional property investors. I hope you have a good week and keep safe. Bye-bye.